because the middle class does not grow in this country unless the trade union movement grows in this country. All right, and that is why just the other day we've introduced legislation with the expectation that at the end of 4 years we would double the number of people in trade unions in America. And I say without any hesitation that you are looking at somebody who would be the strongest pro-labor president of the United States since FDR, and maybe stronger. Yeah. And I say that without any hesitation. And I would, if we wanted the discussion, I'm going to wrap up now. I know you have questions you have to ask me, but I mean, at the heart of our labor reform is the card check provision, which says that if 50% of the workers in a unit plus one sign a card, end of discussion, you got a union. If the employer refuses to negotiate a first contract, that employer will be severely punished. Okay? And by the way, we do away with the provision in Taft-Hartley which allows for so-called right-to-work legislation. That's gone as well. All right? So, the goal is to transform this country, to bring working people into the political process, and to run a government that works for workers and not just the billionaire class. And the only way we do it is when we stand up to Trump's desire to divide us up based on the color of our skin or where we were born or all that crap. And when we come together. Because at the end of the day, the top 1% may be very powerful, and they are enormously powerful. I deal with them every day. But 99% is a lot bigger number than 1%. And if we organize effectively, you know something about that, we can transform this country and lead the world in creating a dignified, civilized, democratic society. And that's what we've got to do. Thank you very much. Transform the conversation of what should be talked about, and more importantly, where we should go as a nation. All right? So you're looking at the only candidate who, when he ran for office, said maybe, just maybe, there is something wrong with 3 people in America own more wealth than the bottom half of America. Wow, we allowed to talk about that? CBS doesn't talk about it, NBC doesn't talk about it, because they're owned by these guys. All right, and we talked about the fact that the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 92%. And we use the term, and what I'm going to talk to you about today is the need to take on oligarchy in America. All right, again, we don't talk about it, but you tell me, if I were to tell you about some foreign country in which 3 people own more wealth than the bottom half of the American society, their society, if I were to tell you about a handful of billionaires contributing unlimited amounts of money to get elected and to support candidates who represent the rich and the powerful, you would say that is an oligarchy. That is what we got right now. So what this campaign is about is not only having the most progressive agenda, and I want to talk in a moment about the new labor platform that we have introduced. It is not only talking about having the most progressive platform, it is about telling you something that no other candidate coming before you will tell you. And that is that no matter how well-intentioned people will be, and they are, I know all of the candidates, they're good people, they're friends of mine in many cases, known them for years. Here is the simple fact. No one president, not Bernie Sanders or anybody else, can do it alone, because the power structure of America, something we are not allowed to talk about, can't talk about it, are the people who, to a significant degree, control the economic and political life of this country. You want real change, you're going to have to take on Wall Street, where you've got 3 financial institutions that have assets of over $10 trillion. That's power. You want real health care reform in this country, you're going to have to take on the insurance companies. You want to lower the cost of prescription drugs, you're going to have to take on the pharmaceutical industry. Last year, and I want to talk about healthcare. Last year, the healthcare industry made $100 billion in profit. It's great. Business is fantastic. You got a problem with that? Oh, well, 87 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. 30,000 people died. 500,000 people went bankrupt last year. People are dying because they can't afford the medicine that they need. But we got a great system. The healthcare industry made $100 billion. What more do we need to know? And to take them on, which I am, mark my words, they will spend hundreds of millions of dollars to defend those profits. If you spend $1 billion fighting Medicare for all, that's 1% of their profits. And they're prepared to do that. So what I'm saying to you, and I want to talk about my agenda, but most importantly, and this is the most important point that I want to make to you. No president can do it alone. President is very powerful. There's a lot a president can do. But you cannot transform this country. I'm running for office for two reasons. My wife and I spent literally months going around the table. Monday we're going to run, Tuesday not. Wednesday yes, Thursday not. All right, here are the two reasons we decided to run. Number one, I come before you telling you that I believe I am the strongest candidate to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of this country. All right, that's number one, and that has to be the case. I do not think Trump will be defeated by a campaign that is not energetic, that does not significantly reach out to non-traditional voters, a campaign that does not get people, young people, working class people, excited and involved in the political process. I think we are the campaign to do that. Point number one. So Trump has got to be defeated. But the second thing that we have to ask ourselves, how the hell did Trump get elected in the first place? Right. All right. And that is because there are millions and millions of working class people who felt that the Democratic Party was not listening to their pain. All right. These are people now, and let's talk about what's going on. You don't see this on the TV very often. What's going on? What's going on is that in a relatively strong economy today, unemployment is pretty low. Half of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. Got that? That means you get sick, can't afford to go to the doctor. You get really sick, you're in trouble. Your car breaks down. Car breaks down. You need $500 to fix the car. Can't afford to do that. You can't get to work. You can't get to work. You don't have a paycheck. You don't have a paycheck. You can't feed your kids. Today in America, you got a younger generation. Now, after 45 years, let me throw this one out here. After 45 years, how is the average working person in real inflation accounted for dollars and benefits doing compared to 45 years ago? Anybody know? How much better are they doing? Zero. Zero! Stop and think. How the hell does it happen that after 45 years of all the increase in technology and productivity, average American worker is making exactly what he or she made 45 years ago? Over the last 30 years, listen to this, data come out from the Federal Reserve. This is unbelievable. Over the last 30 years, top 1% has seen a $21 trillion increase in their wealth. Who knows what the bottom half of Americans have seen? Answer, a $900 billion decrease in their wealth. That is what the economy is about. The economy is doing phenomenally well for the people on top. Corporate profits are soaring. And yet you got today in America, including in San Francisco, you got 500,000 people, including many veterans, sleeping out on the street. You got massive income and wealth inequality. You got a corrupt political system, which billionaires are buying elections. All right. So what are we trying to do about it? What we're trying to do for a start is some of the basics. If you work 40 hours a week in America, you should not be living in poverty. That's why we're going to raise the federal minimum wage to at least $15 an hour. Now, I'm not here to tell you that $15 an hour is a living wage. That is a minimum wage. But I'll do tell you this. It's a hell of a lot better than the $9 or $10 an hour that people in Iowa and Missouri are living on right now. All right, so we're going to raise the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour. When we talk about wages, we're going to end the absurdity of women making 80 cents on the dollar compared to men, and minority women making even less than that. Equal pay for equal work. When we talk about the future of America, we're talking about education. All right? It is not a radical idea. And I was here 4 years ago and I was talking about it, and people say, well, it's a radical idea, Bernie. $15 an hour minimum wage is a radical idea. 7 states have since passed that $15 an hour minimum wage, by the way, and so has the U.S. House of Representatives. Talked about making public colleges and universities and trade schools tuition free, strengthening apprenticeship programs so the kids have an opportunity to get the decent jobs that are out there. We're making progress on that in California, in Tennessee, in New York State. The concept of making public colleges and universities tuition free is growing. We are going to cancel all student debt in America. which is a big deal because you got 45 million people, many of them struggling with high levels of student debt. Let me talk about healthcare. It's an issue we have focused on, and I'd like to discuss it with you. At the end of the day, what we have got to do as a nation is recognize that healthcare is a human right, not a privilege. We are the only major country on earth that does not appreciate that does not allow that to happen. So you got a healthcare system today dominated by private insurance and drug companies, where they made $100 billion last year. 87 million uninsured, underinsured. 30,000 people this year will die. They will die because they don't go to a doctor when they should. 500,000 people will go bankrupt. Think about it for a moment. Why are they going bankrupt? Because they came down with cancer. Take a deep breath and think about that. 500,000 people went bankrupt for the crime of being diagnosed with cancer or serious heart disease. And meanwhile, after all of that, we are spending twice as much per person on healthcare as do the people of any other nation. All right. Medicare right now is a popular healthcare program. I want to expand it to cover dental care, hearing aids, and eyeglasses. And then on a 4-year period, expand it to cover everybody else. Now I know you guys probably have a good health program, do you not?
Yes.
Okay, and we appreciate that. And what we are going to do is 2 things. Number one, instead of having to negotiate about health care every single year, you can negotiate about wages and everything else, all right, which is a big deal. And second of all, because we're probably going to save your employers money on their health care bill, the difference, the savings go to the workers, not to the companies. But at the end of the day, it is undeniable that the current healthcare system is dysfunctional, it is incredibly bureaucratic, it is wasteful, and we need to do what every other country on earth does. I know many of you have comrades up in Canada. You go to Canada, you have heart disease, you got a major heart operation, which in this country would cost a couple of $100,000. Do you know what it costs in Canada? 0. You got any doctor you want. Okay. And they end up spending half of what we spend per capita because the function of their healthcare system, which is not perfect, every system needs to be improved. The function of their system is the very radical idea that you provide quality care to all people, not make huge profits for insurance companies and drug companies. Okay? We are going to, up top of healthcare, we're going to address, just yesterday I was in Paradise, California. I don't know how many of you have been down there, but it is a sight to behold. You all know the tragedy. 86 people died in that one small town. And it is the tip of the iceberg. And I have to lay it out to you, and that is that climate change is very real. And climate change is a global crisis that has to be addressed. Just yesterday we brought forth a program to deal with climate change in a very, very, very significant way. And the end result of that is we create some 20 million jobs as we transform our energy system. Some of the other issues that we're talking about are the need for fundamental reform. The more I study it, the more sick I get in looking at it. A very broken criminal justice system, which has more people in jail today than any other country on earth. It is a racist system. It is an insane system. 40% of the people, let me get 2 million, 40%, no, beg your pardon, 20% of the people in jail now. You know why they are in jail? They're in jail because they are poor and cannot afford cash bail. You know that?
That's right.
That's right.
All right.
How can we know that?
That's right. I've been there.
But they let you out, huh?
I had the bill.
I haven't been there.
All right.
Hey, I haven't been there.
All right. It's 20% of 2 million people in jail. That's 400,000 people. Sorry, 400,000 people. You all read Charles Dickens when we were in high school about debtor's prison? That's what you got. 400,000 people are in jail. They haven't been convicted of anything.
That's right.
Okay. So we are going to invest in our young people, in jobs and education, not more jails, not more incarceration. We're going to do away with the so-called war on drugs, which has been enormously destructive, often to minority communities. We are going to make sure that we end private prisons and detention centers in this country. You have situations, I mean, the more you study it, the more you go crazy thinking about it. It's true. Somebody gets arrested, you get out, you're on parole. You got an ankle bracelet on you. We charge you, you get out of jail with no money, no job, probably lack of education. We charge you the privilege now of paying for the ankle bracelet that you have.
Do you actually see his ankle bracelet?
Very perceptive. And this gentleman is paying $50 a month, $100 a month for the privilege of wearing the bracelet, has no money, lo and behold, he can't pay for it, he ends up back in jail. This is how insane, I mean, this is insanity. All right, so you take desperately poor people, you force them to pay something, they can't pay it, they go back in jail, and then you spend whatever you spend, a lot of money keeping them locked up again, and then make sure nobody comes out, he's really bitter and hardened criminal. I mean, so when you look at things like the criminal justice system, it is not broken. It is an insane, irrational system designed to punish people, hurt people, and waste taxpayer monies, make the prison industrial complex even wealthier. You're looking at a healthcare system only designed to make the people who own the system even wealthier. You're looking at a energy system right now. This is a hard one for me to understand. Is where the people who run the energy system, the Exxon Mobils of the world and all that, these guys get rich while they destroy the planet for their kids and their grandchildren. Not too smart to mind. All right, anyway, what I'm saying here is I wish I could come before you and say, yeah, you know, we need a little bit of a fix over here. You know, we'll just do something over there and everything will be good. It's not. This is a system which is corrupt, which is broken. We are the richest country in the history of the world, but we have massive income and wealth inequality. And what this campaign is about is, the message of this campaign is us, not me. And the reason for that is, A, I believe from the bottom of my heart that we are in it together. What a decent society is about. I got to worry about your family, you got to worry about my family. That's what a human society is about. That improves life for us all. I'm more human when I worry about you. That we don't step over people out here on the street and ignore their pain and reality. That we don't ignore the fact that for 3 years in a row, life expectancy in the United States has actually gone down because there's so much despair. People are turning to drugs, they're turning to alcohol, turning to suicide. All right, you don't ignore that reality. Easy problems to solve? No. But that is what we do. But the second part of the us, not me, is, as I said earlier, no president can do it alone. We need an unprecedented grassroots movement to take on the power structure of America. And at the center of that movement has got to be the trade union movement, because the middle class does not grow in this country unless the trade union movement grows in this country. All right, and that is why just the other day we've introduced legislation with the expectation that at the end of 4 years we would double the number of people in trade unions in America. And I say without any hesitation that you are looking at somebody who would be the strongest pro-labor president of the United States since FDR, and maybe stronger. Yeah. And I say that without any hesitation. And I would, if we wanted the discussion, I'm going to wrap up now. I know you have questions you have to ask me, but I mean, at the heart of our labor reform is the card check provision, which says that if 50% of the workers in a unit plus one sign a card, end of discussion, you got a union. If the employer refuses to negotiate a first contract, that employer will be severely punished. Okay? And by the way, we do away with the provision in Taft-Hartley which allows for so-called right-to-work legislation. That's gone as well. All right? So, the goal is to transform this country, to bring working people into the political process, and to run a government that works for workers and not just the billionaire class. And the only way we do it is when we stand up to Trump's desire to divide us up based on the color of our skin or where we were born and all that crap. And when we come together. Because at the end of the day, the top 1% may be very powerful, and they are enormously powerful. I deal with them every day. but 99% is a lot bigger number than 1%. And if we organize effectively, you know something about that, we can transform this country and lead the world in creating a dignified, civilized, democratic society. And that's what we've got to do. Thank you very much.